Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to my channel, guys. Hope you're all doing well and doing great. Today we are back with another video and we're going to talk about rate of reaction. This is basically a small topic from a book of Cambridge Checkpoint class 8. So O levels book, and basically this is where, even if it is from the electric science book or it is from the Cambridge Checkpoint, the only thing that you need to understand about the concept. So the first we need to understand about what is reaction or what are the reactions, how we're going to write it in the form of word or how we're going to write it in the form of symbols, and we're going to learn about how it follows the law of conservation of mass. In this video we're going to learn these two things, and in the next video we're going to learn some other things. So the first thing you need to understand about, before going to understand about the word equation, we need to understand about what is a reaction and how we're going to write it in how we're going to write a chemical equation. Always remember that how a reaction is formed. The first thing you need to understand about it. Always remember, when any one or two things react with each other, they form a new thing, and this is how a chemical reaction is formed. So as I said, when one or the two things react with each other or combine with each other. For example, this one is A. I just noted with the symbol A, and this new thing is considered as B, and the new thing which is formed is considered as the C. So this A and B combine with each other. They are named as the reactant or the substrate. They are named as reactants. And when they react with each other, when they combine with each other, or when they react with each other, reactants, they form a new thing, and that new thing is called as product. So this is your product when you combine any new thing or any three things. But the things which are react with each other are named as reactant, and the thing which is formed is called as the product. For example, you have two things. For example, you have water and you have sugar, or you have ruafza, or you have a lemon, whatever you're going to consider it or imagine it. So in the water, you're going to add the ruafza. Once you're going to add the ruafza in the water, what's going to happen? A new thing is formed. Water will be changed into the red in color. So that new product, that new thing which is formed is called as the product. And these two things, you're going to add the sugar, and you're going to add the ruafza, and you're going to add the sugar. These are basically your reactants. The things which are going to be react with each other or combine with each other are called as the reactants. And the thing which is formed is called as the product. So hopefully the concept of reactant and product is clear. Now we're going to talk about the balanced chemical equation. This is a chemical equation, how a chemical equation is formed, or how a chemical equation is formed. Now we're going to understand about a balanced chemical equation. What is mean by balanced? Balanced mean, for example, at this side, at the reactant side, they are the only number 1 and 1. So the product should be 2, because if the product would be 3, or 4 or 5, it would be considered as unbalanced. And if the product would be 2, because you have added only two things, 1 plus 1 equal to 2, 1 plus 1 not equal to 3 or doesn't equal to 4. So the balanced chemical equation is only when the number of atoms will be same at the reactant side as well as at the product side. For example, as I said, carbon plus oxygen combine to form, for this purpose, one thing you need to memorize, that you must need to know about the symbols of the chemical equation. For example, you must need to memorize the periodic table. For example, you must need to know that for symbol of hydrogen, we're going to use the symbol of H. For oxygen, we're going to use the symbol of O. For carbon, we're going to use the symbol of C. For nitrogen, we're going to use the symbol of N. Okay. And if they are together, they are considered as the molecule. And if they are single, like for example in this form, it is considered as an element. When they exist in the single substance, they are considered as element. But when any other element is combined with them, they are considered as the molecule. This is another concept that I'm going to tell you. Okay, so right now we're talking about the balanced and unbalanced chemical equation. So for example, the carbon and oxygen react together, C2 and O2 react together, and they form, this is just an imaginary equation, it's not the exact equation. So it forms CO2. So do you think, is it balanced? Let's see. For example, we're going to erase this 2 and we're going to write this 2 over here. Okay. So I said how many molecules are there in the carbon atom? 2. How many molecules are there in the oxygen atom? 2, because this 2 is basically considered as there are the 2 number of atoms in the oxygen molecule. So the product which is formed, now by counting the number of atoms, we're going to separate them. Now they are considered as the molecule, but when we are going to consider, or when we are going to counting the number of atoms, we are going to separate them. So there in the carbon, the only, if there is no molecule is written and no number of atoms is mentioned, so that means there is 1. So in the carbon, it only has 1 number of atom, and for oxygen it has 2 number of atoms. So oxygen is balanced because in the reactant side the oxygen has 2 number of atoms, in the product side oxygen also has 2 number of atoms. But carbon is unbalanced, so we need to balance the carbon, because here the carbon is having 2 number of atoms. So what we're going to do, we're going to add carbon at the left side. We're not going to add over here or over here. Okay. While adding the number of atoms, we always gonna add the number of atom at this side or at this space. We're not going to add over here, we're not going to add over here, we're not going to add over here, or we're not going to add over here. So whenever we are going to add at the product side, we have to add even for the oxygen atom, if we have to add the number of atom, we're going to write it over here, not over here. We're not going to change this. We are going to add the number of atoms over here. So the thing you need to understand about now we're going to count them. The carbon is having 2 number of atoms, oxygen at the reactant side is having 2 number of atoms. So at this side, carbon is having 2 number of atoms, but now this 2 is multiplied with the oxygen atom, because now this 2 is multiplied with the both. Now oxygen is having 4 number of atoms, but their oxygen is having 2 number of atoms. Now the carbon is balanced, but the oxygen is going to be unbalanced. So we need to balance it. Simply what we're going to do, we're going to add the number of atoms at this side where we are going to add. Even in the carbon or even in the oxygen, we are going to add we are going to write it in the left side. So we're going to add in the left side, and now 2 2s are 4. Now the oxygen is having 4 number of atoms, carbon is having 2 number of atoms. Just don't consider this one. Now over here, once we balance this, the carbon is having 2 number. So number of atoms 2 over here in the carbon, number of atoms 2 over here in the carbon, that's balanced. So for oxygen, 2 2s are 4. Oxygen is also, the oxygen contain 4 number of atoms, and in the reactant side oxygen contain the 4 number of atoms. Now it is considered as balanced. But what happen if we're gonna remove this? Let's suppose let me clear the screen for you first. Like what happened, what I have done, let me clear it out and let me show you the exact thing what I have done. So now it is clear to you, it's much better and visible to you. Now you're gonna see. Now we're gonna count the number of atoms. The carbon atom, firstly the equation was like this. For example, there's a 2 carbon and oxygen is having, there is only O2, and in the product side, when the carbon dioxide is formed, this is the element and this is called as molecule, but in other case we're going to call them the reactants, and this is called the product. So when the product is formed, the carbon is having 2 number of atoms over here in the reactant side. This is the reactant side, this whole side is called as the reactant sides, and this complete side is called as, if there is any other molecule is formed, then that complete side is called as the product side. So at the reactant side, the number of carbon is contains 2 atoms, but in the product side the carbon does not contain any atom. So carbon contain 1 atom, and oxygen contain 2 atoms in the product side, oxygen contain 2 atoms in the reactant side. The oxygen is balanced while carbon is not balanced. So this equation is called as unbalanced equation, while this equation is called as the balanced equation, because the carbon contains 2 number of atoms, carbon also contain 2 number of atoms. Now we're gonna add, hold on, let me add over here instead of going down. Now you're gonna see this. Let me write it again for you, and okay, here you go. How I have balanced it, the carbon I have added 2 over here. Now the carbon is balanced, so the overall product is CO2. So now this 2 will be multiplied with this C, and this 2 is also multiplied with the number of atoms that oxygen contain. So 2 2s are 4. Oxygen contain 4 number of atoms, while carbon contain only 2 number of atoms. This carbon will not add this number of atoms. This is only with the oxygen. Oxygen is containing 2, while carbon is containing, we added carbon was at first the carbon contained only 1 number of atom, but after adding the 2 over here, now the carbon also contained 2 number of atoms, but this is a complete single molecule. CO2 is written in the combined form, so this 2 will be multiplied with this 2, but this 2 is not, the carbon will not multiply with this 2, always remember. So that's why now this is called as the balanced equation, because the carbon contain 2 at the product side, carbon contain 2 at the reactant side, oxygen contain 4 number of atoms, oxygen contain 4 number of atoms. This is called as balanced equation. So hopefully this concept is clear. Number of atoms is equal at the reactant side as well as at the product side. If the number of reactants are equal as in the reactant and the product side, this equation is not only called as the balanced equation, but it also obeys the law of conservation of mass, in which we say the energy cannot be created or not be destroyed, but it changes from one form to another form. The mass will be same at the reactant side. The number of atoms will be same at the reactant side as well as the product sides. So thank you so much for watching. If the concept is not clear, please rewatch it. Pause the video, understand the concept. I will catch you in another video. Thank you so much for watching. Allah Hafiz.